I don't have a very quick mind. My mind's not very quick, not very sharp. When we talk about things, it takes a while for things to process, and a lot of the time, if you ask me a question, you'll get an answer the next day once it's processed. That's just the disadvantage of my slow head. But earlier we were talking about a couple of things. One was freedom and liberty and the way the world is and whether we're controlled, which I didn't have much to say at the time, I don't think. And the other thing was, can you change the world? And while I was sitting in the hospital today, it all came to me. It all sort of fell together. How I feel about these things and what I believe about these things. But it's just, yeah, this thick brain of mine, it doesn't absorb knowledge, and it takes a while for things. What I really feel and understand takes a while for things to settle down and come together. But the first thing I want to talk about is oppression. We talk about liberty, oppression, freedom, all that kind of stuff. And that are we under the control of some cabal or some Freemasons? Are they trying to control everything? And are we oppressed? Are we brainwashed? That requires two things: knowledge of the people that are controlling the world, which I have no knowledge of them. All I can do is observe and make assumptions based on what they're doing. But ultimately, are they all getting together and colluding to gain control of the world? I don't know that. I don't know anyone that does know that. You could make assumptions that they are, but you can't really say they definitely are because we're not behind the closed doors. We can only see the results. Potentially they're not. Potentially they're just trying to make the world a better place. A lot of the time people are behind the world trying to make a better place and they're not very competent. And so people think that it's a conspiracy. My brother once said, incompetence over conspiracy. And I still take that with me today. And it is, if you ever think there's a conspiracy theory, the government's got some conspiracy theory, generally it's incompetence first. Generally you should rule out incompetence, because potentially a conspiracy theory that's been formulated is actually just incompetence from the government and not any conspiracy theory, because the government is us. We are the government. We live in a democracy. We represent the government. We vote ourselves in. We have a say. That's what a democracy is. So we are the government. And often when the government doesn't work, it's because we don't work. We're humans. We make mistakes. We're not very clever, etc., etc. Is there corruption in the world? Yeah, but of course there is. But I have limited knowledge. It's kept secret. It's limited. I can't. Although I'd have to have faith, like a religious person, to say that there's a big cabal trying to collude to conspire to control the world. I would need to take a leap of faith, which I don't like to do because that's unreliable. An unreliable path to truth. So no, I don't like that. And then as well, when you talk about oppression and control, you have to also understand, do we feel under control? Maybe a small percentage of the population feels like they're under control. But when I look at the world 100 years ago, when I look at the world from medieval days, I've got freedoms now that they would have dreamed of. I'm living like a king. I can buy any food from around the world at almost any time and eat as much of it as I want. And I'm not even a king. I'm just a regular person. Yet I can fill my fridge with the food from around the world and more of it than I'll ever be able to eat. I'm always got shelter. I can take time. I don't have to go out and tend to a farm. Otherwise, my family starve. I can sit here and press record and talk about my own feelings and express them. And when my family and friends are around, I can give my own opinions freely. Sure, okay, fine. We live in a world where there's a little bit of censorship and all that, cancel culture, which is not a good thing, but it doesn't apply to my personal life, so it doesn't really bother me that much. And it's good that people are pushing back against it. So, there's no black and white. Everything's grey. There's bad, there's good. Everyone's pushing in different directions. So there's no definitive bad in the world and definitive good. Everything's a combination of a little bit of each. So the first thing I would say is, for me, and again, as I was saying, I don't feel like I'm a slave or brainwashed or under control. So even if I was, it doesn't actually matter because I feel free. I've got a free life. I can work, I can change careers, I can, go out with my family to nice places and all that kind of stuff. I can do whatever I want. So I don't feel that I'm under control. So if I was, I'm happy. If this is what under control is, I'm happy. I'm not going to complain. It's fine. Well, this will do me. So to be under control, it's in your mind whether you're under control. So if an individual feels like they're under control, that's in their own mind. Like some people can have freedom in prison. Some people can be imprisoned and have more freedom in their mind than other people that live with a wealthy family. It just depends on the mind, how free you are in your mind. And what you make of it. Again, Stoicism, it's what you make of your life. It's what you make of your problems, and it's how you interact with those problems. That's important, and that's what provides freedom. That's what defines whether you're free or not. But at the end of the day, we're all going to die, so it's all going to be over anyway. So regardless, it doesn't matter. But to be under control, you'd have to, for a society to be under control and feel brainwashed and suppressed, they'd have to be aware of it and unhappy with it. So you would need 99% of the population, like more than 50% of the population, closer to 90%, 99%, to go, no, we feel under control, we feel like we're being oppressed, we feel like we don't have freedoms. A small percentage does, but I don't feel that this democracy, this world we live in, that a bulk of the people feel that way. I think most people are happy with their lives. Otherwise, they would say something. So the other thing was, can you change the world? I was asking, can you change the world? And I wasn't sure of the answer. But of course, my mum taught me about this because she did psychology, and 6 months of that was a thing called advocacy, which I didn't even know it was a subject. I know the word, but I didn't know it was an actual subject. There's a thing called advocacy. You change the world through advocacy, through advocating a particular idea or movement or whatever. A very powerful thing is to join an advocate group that already exists, or potentially you can try and start your own one. Now, how much success will you have with advocacy and changing the world comes down to how you are received. So you can always get an indication of if you're advocating well. Would depend on, are people listening to you? Do they agree with you? Do they want to join you? Do they want to support you? If people are listening to you, agree with you, and want to support you, and even want to join you, then you are doing a good job of advocating for your idea or whatever. But if people are repelled, they don't want to know about it, they don't agree with you, they're arguing against you, then potentially you're doing a bad job of advocacy. So to change the world, you need to be an advocate, you need to get involved in advocacy, and you need to learn how to be a good advocate, and that's how you change the world. Because I was trying to become an advocate for certain things. I wanted certain things to be different. And I put the question to my mum, how do you even begin? And she goes, it's advocacy. You join an advocacy group. That's how things are changed, through advocacy. And then, again, so how well do you advocate your own ideas? You can measure that by, are people listening to you? Are people on board? Are they supporting you? And do they agree? Do they like the idea? If they do, you're hitting a nerve and you're pushing it out the right way. So that's what I can say about, can you change the world? And also, are we under control? We probably are under control. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't feel under control. I don't feel like I live in an oppressed world. I don't feel like a slave, or I don't feel like a middle ages where you're destined to just be the one thing that you're stuck with. I don't feel like there's people coming to my door every day telling me I have to say a certain thing or do a certain thing. That doesn't happen. I'm not starving to death. I can spend time with the kids. No, I don't feel like I'm unfree. So that's what I would say about freedom, oppression, and advocacy, changing the world.